Well, the Fresh Start servers are here, and I've put a guide together for you PvP enthusiasts that are looking to enjoy the crazy open world PvP that you get on a Fresh Start server like this. It's going to be very reminiscent of the launch of New World's open world PvP, but this time around you actually get a luck bonus for flagging up, and you can get some pretty good items and rewards just from doing PvP. So in this video, I'm just going to show you guys the fastest way to get your character geared out for PvP in the best gear possible. And if PvP is not your thing, there's still a lot of great information in this video for making a fresh new character. So let's start. The first thing we're going to do is create a new character. Thankfully, with the addition of Fresh Start Worlds, you're also going to get an additional character slot, so you don't have to delete any of your existing guys. Of course, there's a button in the settings menu that allows you to skip the tutorial if you don't want to do it. When you finally wash up on the mainland, you're just going to progress through the main story quest until it sends you to your first town. These quests were revamped in the most recent patch, and honestly, this is a pretty good source of gear for the early part of the game. Some of these quests will also give you access to your first set of flint tools. You can always make these yourself if you don't want to wait to do the quests in order to get the tools, and I would highly recommend trying to upgrade to iron tools as soon as possible. During this questing process, it's important to gather as many resources as you can while you're running around doing your quests. Keep your eyes open for things like hemp and iron, as well as any huntable animals that are along your path. 30 harvesting is the first milestone that you want to get skilling-wise, because this will allow you to collect elemental mote plants. These motes are very important for crafting all kinds of things in the game, from potions to different consumables, so try to pick up all the motes that you can find. You'll get quite a few levels from the early game questing, and it won't be until around level 17 that you actually get to choose and join a faction and then go do some PvP. Once you get to this stage, you can now actually buy a bunch of different gear and weapons from the faction vendor. This is going to be a great way for you to fill in any pieces of gear that you might be missing, or that don't have very good perks or gear score. And the items from the vendor are pretty easy to farm, especially since you get a huge bonus to the amount of faction tokens that you get for the first 3 faction missions that you do each day. So once you've got all your armor and weapons together, you have your first PvP build. The faction vendor is also going to be super useful for below level 60 for getting your hands on some pretty decent PvP gear that at least has the resilient perk. So try to make sure to do your 3 daily faction missions, just so you have enough tokens to upgrade your gear as you continue to level up. So now that that's all ready, you gotta get your supplies together. Potions are super easy. All you gotta do is collect herbs and bulrush and water, and a life reagent like life motes. Herbs are scattered all over the map, so if you ever see any, make sure to grab them because you're gonna need a lot of potions early game, especially if you're planning to do some PvP. With these ingredients, you can make health and regeneration potions, and I would highly recommend that you use both while you're in combat. This is a good way also to level up your Arcana skill, and as it gets higher level, you'll be able to make stronger and stronger potions. Cooking is also important, not only for the meals that you can eat to give you a bit of health regen while you're fighting, but on top of it, you can also get a few stat boosting foods pretty early on in the game, and you already have the recipe for it without having to unlock it. You'll need around 50 cooking to make the various different foods, so just make the one that gives you the stat boost you're looking for. Some of the different foodstuffs might be pretty difficult to find. Again, you want to loot as much as you possibly can and gather all the resource that you possibly can early game. You have a lot of storage space. As you go around and unlock more towns, you'll get even more storage space, so this is a very important part of the early game. And the last supply on the list is going to be honing stones. You can make these at a weaponsmithing station with stone, death motes, and fire motes. The stone is super easy to find, it's basically everywhere, and the death and fire motes just try to keep your eye out for as you're exploring. This will give your build a cheap renewable damage buff. Now for the sake of early game PvP, you don't really need to level any of your other crafting skills, but if you are interested in continuing your crafting adventure, I would highly recommend checking out the website newworldmaps.com. It shows you where all the different resources in the game spawn, helping you plan out an effective farming route. Through crafting, you can actually make yourself some pretty good armor, weapons, and even tools. But it takes a bit of a grind to level these different skills, and there's various tiers of the faction vendor gear that you can just buy as you continue to level up, so you don't need to worry about getting your gear from any crafts. Plus, as you get further along on the Fresh Start server, people are going to be selling more and more items on the trading post, so you can just get nice pieces from there too. I would also recommend that you get yourself a house as soon as possible. You don't have to get a big one, and don't worry if you want to save a lot of money with the first time buy. It's not a big deal, and just having access to a house and the additional teleports that it can give you is a huge help for getting around the map, especially during the early stages of the game. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is jewelry. For the sake of this guide, you're going to get a pretty good amulet just from doing your early game quest rewards, and that'll be perfect for early game PvP. But as you level up and unlock more jewelry slots, you have a few options going forward. Quest rewards are always going to be a solid option for that sub-level 60 jewelry, and you always have a chance of finding a nice piece as an item drop. If you decide to level jewel crafting, you'll actually be able to make yourself really useful pieces for this stage of the game. And of course, by the time you get here, the Fresh Start worlds will have been around for a while, and people are likely going to be selling jewelry on the trading post anyway. Finally, some different early game bosses drop really nice pieces of jewelry and weapons. You do have the option to go farm these, but sometimes it can take quite a bit of time, so I wouldn't recommend doing it before the level 30 stage. And if you're curious about checking out these different items, you can find them on the New World database. I've got a link to it down below in the description. And there you go. You should be ready for early game PvP. I really hope I didn't miss anything in this guide, and I hope you guys liked it. I'm very excited for these Fresh Start worlds. I myself am actually going to be doing kind of an Iron Man playthrough where I'm not allowed to use the trading post or trade with anybody. On top of it, I'm going to be running around flagged as soon as I can and looking for that low-level PvP. And I'll be streaming it live on Twitch when I do it, so give me a follow on Twitch. The link's down below if you guys want to catch some of that. Give me a follow on Twitter if you guys want to keep up to date with me, and you can check out my website, pvpnewworld.com, for lots of written guides to a bunch of different builds. I do the New World Top 5 battles, so if you have a clip that you want to see featured in the Top 5, you can send that to Kristofer at pvpnewworld.com. This show is sponsored by ExpressVPN, one of the largest VPNs in the world. It helps keep you safe from attackers online and allows you to change your IP so that you get access to some content that you might not get in your country. And there's a link down below if you guys want to get a deal. A huge thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon for supporting the show. And thank you everybody just for tuning in and watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you're looking forward to more in the future. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great night, everybody.